Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because this video is going to take you on a wild ride through the map Abyss. We're going to be touching centuries into the past to far into the future with the amount of lore that this new map brings. Not to mention this map being littered with Easter eggs, secret codes in an ancient language, and hints as to what's coming in the future. There is a lot to cover, so I have this video divided into sections starting from the Abyss cinematic, to the map itself, a secret passage on the wall, translating the hourglass language, and ending off with voicemails from agents. This took a really long time to make, but it was worth it because I wanted to make sure to capture every single detail I can and bring you guys quality content. With that said, I hope you guys enjoy. Before anything else, where the heck is Abyss located? With a quick analysis of the map's coordinates and inputting it into Google Maps, we find ourselves on a desolate island in between Greenland and Norway by the name of Jan Mayen. On the north side of the island is a large volcano which looks awfully familiar to how Abyss was introduced. Somewhere below this island is a large underground cavern where the map lies, and where the hourglass has kept some of its darkest secrets from the world. In the cinematic, lo and behold, we have Omen back with the team, in this case Iso and Clove, on his own selfish mission to take over the base and uncover the truth about his past. Despite Sage's call to pull the trio out from the base for backup, because they're getting overwhelmed, Omen refuses and says that he wants to stay and keep on fighting, with Sage agreeing and telling him to make sure he watches over Clove.
Omen, you need backup. I'm pulling you out.
No, we need more answers. What secrets are they hiding here?
Fine, but watch over our new recruit.
And Clove, having just ranked up from Ascendant, clearly disagrees.
You do know I'm immortal, right?
Lucky shot.
Team, stand tall and finish this.
Clove observes that the hourglass oddly seemed quite ready for them, like they were expecting the protocol to attack the base, with Iso agreeing and highlighting that they seem to be holding something powerful.
They're ready for us, eh?
Yes.
And they're holding something powerful.
Clove also mentions that there's ancient text all over the new map, mainly noting the books and bookshelves everywhere, but as we know, there are several carvings on the wall as well. I'll explain this further later.
These texts are ancient. How long have they been?
In kind of a confirmation that the hourglass were in fact ready for the protocol, we have a soldier who makes a call to his team, and probably his leader as well, that the monster is here, referring to Omen.
The monster is here.
Monster.
Poor Omen. It looks like the hourglass have anticipated the protocol showing up to this base, and have probably made preparations to defend the base. Although in the cinematic, all we can see are a bunch of hourglass soldiers flooding in to fight. However, they may also have a trick up their sleeve, who knows. We know that the hourglass see Omen as a high value target due to his past with the organization and prior knowledge of their secrets, something the hourglass doesn't want to be exposed if Omen starts remembering things. We end off the cinematic with a teaser of a person locked away in an hourglass shaped chamber. Looks like it's filled with gas or some sort of chemical to keep them from escaping. More on this later as well. In a nutshell, that's what we have of the cinematic. It's not actually that lore heavy compared to when you actually analyze the map itself. The biggest thing in the cinematic is actually the person locked up, and the rest is just mini bits of lore thrown left and right. Now let's actually dive a little bit deeper into the map and see what's going on. Abyss takes place underneath the island of Jan Mayen, and it looks like there's a massive source of radianite here that the Scions must have discovered. With their goal of hiding its existence and preventing scientists from studying it, it makes it a perfect place to build a base here and to use the radianite for themselves and work towards ultimately destroying it. Abyss is referred to as the Elder Grotto by the Scions of Hourglass. A grotto is basically just a cave, typically artificial with structures and other features. I believe that this base is actually a religious grotto for two main reasons. The first reason is the name, Elder Grotto, which suggests that this place is or was home to some of the Scions' most highest of rankings and holds ancient secrets and artifacts. The second being that the Scions worship their symbol. in a way that kind of resembles a religion or even a cult, which can be proven by deciphering two messages. The first one being this engraving on a wall, which translates to "the hourglass turns," a direct connection to the spinning hourglass artifact or possibly even an energy source. The other reason why I think this map has religious ties is due to this message here, which is actually a riddle. The riddle on this wall reads, "Scions, there shall be tending to the turn of the hourglass, to safeguard truths forbidden, pruning vine, burning word, and confine all to the abyss, for the hourglass turns." What the heck does that even mean? Well, let's break it down. Scions, there shall be tending to the turn of the hourglass. I think this suggests to the hourglass turning, meaning that the spinning symbol or whatever doesn't spin on its own. It needs the scions to tend to it, somehow, in some way, possibly using radianite to keep it spinning. If you pay close attention, the hourglass is filled with some sort of fluid. It could be a kind of fuel or energy source that keeps it going. And in order to replenish this fuel, the members of the organization are needed to tend to it, to safeguard truths forbidden. We know that the scions of hourglass are shrouded, wink wink, in mystery and secrets. What these secrets are, we don't know much. What we do know is that Omen holds a lot of these secrets. Unfortunately though, he doesn't recall his past at all ever since his encounter with Viper, and as a result, doesn't remember the secrets he once kept. But there is a chance that Omen may start to remember things over time, as we saw evidence of this in the Reckoning cinematic, when Omen remembered that he turned into a ghostly figure as a result of Viper's doing. And based off Astra's most recent email, she highlights that there's evidence that radiants have existed for multiple centuries, and that the scions are erasing traces of them one by one. This would explain why the hourglass use an ancient language, besides them wanting secrecy. Pruning vine, burning word. I think this goes into two parts. Pruning vine, to prune basically means to preserve something, and vines obviously fall under plants, so we can assume that this has a relation to the preservation of plants. And this does make a lot of sense because all around Abyss are plants, from trees to flowers to hedges. They're scattered everywhere. Many of them clearly have been tested on with radianite as they glow in color and emit some sort of aura. What exactly the scions are doing with this, I'm not too sure, but I do have a good theory. The hourglass have generators around Abyss that probably make the place run, and what they've done is found a way to preserve plants in a way where they can continuously extract energy from them and convert that into power for their generators to keep the place running. They kind of made their own in-house renewable energy source with plants and radianite. And confine all to the abyss. I think this directly translates to the ultimate goal of the scions, to confine every trace, every knowledge, every source of radianite into the abyss. And I don't think they mean the map name Abyss, because they don't call this map Abyss at all. They call it the Elder Grotto, but they mean the actual abyss, as in the depths of nothingness. They want to bury any knowledge of radianite and wipe it from existence, which is what they've been doing already for a very long time, as pointed out by Astra. For the hourglass turns. I think this is a metaphor or maybe even a chant that the scions might have, which if I were to guess, it would mean that so long as the hourglass is turning, meaning that symbol above, the scions will continue to work towards their goal of erasing radiance and radianite. As the hourglass keeps turning, the scions keep working. If one day that hourglass were to stop turning, I wonder what would happen within the organization, if we are assuming that there is some sort of religious or cult aspect to it. Also, this riddle could be a ritual as well. If you read it several times, you do get that vibe, which is pretty interesting. As you all know, Abyss is full of these ancient letters all around. And I literally spent so many hours figuring out the alphabet one by one, only to find that this guy beat me to it. But you know what? He ain't getting no credit at all because I did this all on my own, so I'll happily take the credit. Still kinda sad though because I thought I was the first, but oh well. I'm gonna show you guys the most important messages around the map, which all hold significant meaning and add on to the lore. And there is a lot, so do pay attention. I'll start with this one first because we just went through it. It translates to the riddle or the ritual that I just explained. This is one of the larger set of symbols that you'll find on the map, and it translates to the hourglass turns. Sounds very cult-like, and it's as if these guys are worshipping that hourglass with their obsession over it spinning. I do believe that their entire bond relies on the continuous movement of the hourglass, which makes you wonder, if the protocol do take over Abyss and potentially disable the hourglass, what would happen to the organization? This is one of the cooler texts that I came across, and I was pretty shocked when I was able to decipher it because it sounds really real, and it makes you feel kind of bad for them because they're all working towards a similar philosophy that they hold, and clearly when they lose members it means something to them. I do wonder though if the hourglasses below symbolize the amount of scions that have been lost, or if they symbolize the amount of radiance that the scions have captured and taken out over the years. I think the first one makes more sense to be honest, and that this is just a remembrance to the service of their members. There's a sign in what looks like a lobby with an elevator that has the message, welcome to the Elder Grotto, which obviously just confirms that the Scion calls this place the Elder Grotto, not Abyss, so make sure you don't get that confused. This lobby looks kind of nice, which has me wondering if it's meant for elders within the organization and scientists who come to visit or work on projects. Because it wouldn't make much sense for soldiers to be welcomed in a luxurious way like this, at least in my opinion. On one of the walls, you'll find a display with a banner and several knife skins like the Gaia, Oni, and Reaver. There's a sign on the left which reads "Caution, Radianite artifacts, handle with care." So in case you didn't know, the skins that you have in game are made from Radianite, which also explains why they cost Radianite points to upgrade. And the sign on the right just reads "Caution." In one of the rooms, you can find these monitors which seem to be left in the middle of a data wipe. It reads "Botanical Analysis. Purge data confirmation yes and no." And it looks like the selection was left on yes because it was interrupted. This here says Seed Registry. It looks to me like the Hourglass run their tests on these plants and gather as much data as they can, only to then wipe out whatever data they gathered from existence. This may be because they already used the data for what they needed and don't want it to get leaked or seen by anyone else. If you recall earlier, I said I had a theory that the Scions are using plants to power their generators. Well, here's where we can back up that theory with these signs. This sign shows an icon of a plant or a tree with an arrow pointing towards something that we can't really tell off the bat. The text on the bottom reads as extraction, so we can guess that the plant or tree is being extracted for something only to be transferred to whatever that other symbol is. And here we have that exact same symbol with the text translated to power generator. So I think we're correct into saying that the plants are being used to power up the generators and keep them running. We also have various signs like this which say high winds and just plants. Around one of the halls you can find an aquarium that holds fish which look exactly like Gecko's Thrash. We know that all of Gecko's abilities are radivores, which are basically like modified creatures mixed with Radianite that give them abilities. So the animal or creature version of a Radiant, which were being studied by Kingdom Corporation. Another example of this would be the bear that Deadlock fights off in her cinematic trailer. There is a larger lore connection to this which goes back to patch 7.2 in an email on Bind that highlights how 6 radivores have escaped in the past. 4 of these radivores are well known as they're literally every utility that Gecko has. And the 5th radivore is the bear I mentioned earlier which connects to Deadlock's past. The 6th radivore we haven't seen yet and we don't really know what it is, but according to an announcement that we hear on Sunset,
all radivore containment staff, subject ZN35 remains unaccounted for in the Dirac wing. This entity can disguise itself as any flora. Please remove all plants from your workspaces until it is recovered.
we know 2 things. 1, that this radivore's identification number is ZN35, and 2 is that this specific radivore has the power to disguise itself as any flora. This brings us directly to this room where a flower is being held on a table and being scanned, with the number 32 on the side. My theory is that this is part of the radivore that had escaped. And the reason I think so is because when you translate the text from the screen, it says prisoner sample, as well as temp analysis on the left. If this is a prisoner sample, then where's the prisoner itself? The holding rooms where I assume the radivores are kept are all empty and there's no trace of them. So I don't think radivore 35 is on the map at all. I think that the 6th radivore which is missing is on Sunset, disguised as some sort of flower hiding there. Maybe in plain sight, maybe not, but something just tells me that it's there somewhere. I did spend a good hour just exploring all around Sunset, in and out of the playable area, and I couldn't really find anything out of the ordinary when it came to plants. But if someone does come across something, please hit me up. On the flip side, the radivore could also be on any of the other maps as well. Moving on, we have the sign which says security check. And this one here that's really important and says vault access. I think that this is the entrance to the hourglass chamber where that figure is being locked up. The reason I say that is because of this sign with the exact same vault logo, which translates to Radiant Lockup. Whatever or whoever that figure is in the hourglass chamber is a Radiant, and I'm betting anything that it's the long lost Agent 8. Everything just adds up and points to this being Agent 8. We have the same lockers that the Valorant uses. The most recent addition to Clove has a voice line directed towards Agent 8.
So, are we going to talk about the empty locker back at base? The one with the scratched out 8? Anyone? No one? Okay.
This figure has the same claws as Omen. The number 8 in Valorant's font is literally the hourglass logo. How many more hints can we get? I'm convinced, and I know many of you are as well, that this character locked away is Agent 8. My theory is that the Valorant protocol will accidentally release him with bullets penetrating the glass as we saw in the cinematic, and the character is going to escape, but one of 2 things are going to happen. Either they're going to escape and leave the grotto completely, where we'll have to wait for future lore and story to see if the protocol will find them. Or because the protocol and the figure locked up have the same common enemy being the Scions of Hourglass, they will work together to take them down, ultimately resulting in the return of Agent 8 to the Valorant protocol. Finally, we have voicemails from ISO, Deadlock, and surprisingly Reyna. ISO goes on to talk about how he recognizes many of the artifacts seen on the map, but is surprised to the sheer scale of how the Scions of Hourglass operate globally.
Brimstone. I'm over at the Hourglass base and I can't believe what I'm seeing. I recognize some of these artifacts from jobs I did, but the scale. I had no idea how big Hourglass was on the world stage. Or still is. We should talk when I'm back.
Deadlock makes a note as to how the facility as a whole is incredibly secure, especially the containment areas. She doesn't know what was being held in the lockups, but is surprised as to how many layers of security are in place, as it must have been something really important.
Brimstone, it's Deadlock. This Hourglass facility is astonishing. The surface level security is all in place. 3-factor biometric entry. Dual encrypted transmission hardware. But you need to see the containment areas deeper in the facility. The materials here make Svalbard look almost amateur. I don't know what they were keeping here, but to warrant this many layers of security? It must have been something special. I'll bring back samples for further analysis.
Reyna in the meantime is devastated to learn about the history of Radiants and how they've existed for centuries, only to be slowly wiped out one by the Scions of Hourglass. She feels a higher sense of hatred towards the Hourglass for trying to erase Radiance from the world, and Radianite in general, and vows to destroy the Scions for good.
Is it true? Our history was filled with Radiance? How long have the Scions committed this crime? No puedo creerlo, malditos! It is unforgivable! They erased us! This place is our legacy. It belongs to Radiance, and they stole it! I will see it returned, and we will destroy the Scions!
And with that said, we conclude all the lore that we have on Abyss and the Hourglass. I hope you guys were able to follow along. I know some parts may be confusing if you don't know the backstory, so I am going to link several lore videos on the Hourglass and Omen in the description below so you guys can get a refresher or learn if it's your first time. I had a lot of fun making this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and please let me know if I missed anything or got something wrong. If you stayed till the very end, you're amazing, and thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as it really shows me that you guys enjoy these videos, as it takes a lot of time and effort to make them, but obviously I love doing so, but feedback would be great. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your own theories in the comment section below as well, and I'll see you all in the next video.